This is Radar for On the Radar Entertainment Blog, coming to you with another edition of Movie Reviews and Observations, number 157. So, the first movie I watched is what I keep telling you, is DC is the king of cartoons. That's television shows, that's straight-to-DVD movie, it's comic books, it's all that stuff. And the latest thing was a little bit odd and interesting, but ever since they ended the New 52 continuity, like ending it all, there's been all these little offshoot movies that are based on random graphic novel or comic books or just ideas that people come up with, and I like that. Just come up, be original, take your own interpretation on something and see what happens. And I do like that they got this David Giannoli dude who's been Batman before voiced him before, and I like him on a million little things. And, they had Marston, the guy who voices Robin and so many other cartoon characters, and we know him from Full House, dating DJ. We know him from Boy Meets World, being Will Ferrell's buddy, and in real life they're best buds, and they do voice acting together, mostly in the DC world. And there's some other actors. So this was basically Batman, let's say post-World War I, because there's the Prohibition era, and he's actually been traveling for years with Alfred, and he's picked up some strays along the way, two guys and a girl, but it's some Indian dude, but his name sounds like Jason Todd, and he's got some guy named Dick, you got Dick Grayson, who's into medicine, and he's got a little girl. I was like, that's definitely not Batgirl. What could it be? But, a British girl, whatever. And they're traveling the world, and, with his finances, because he left Gotham years ago, and, they have Harvey Dent, Green Arrow. They mentioned Penguin, Man-Bat. So there's a few comic book characters that are in this movie. Ra's al Ghul, Talia al Ghul, just in different ways. But Batman comes back to town, and Demon the Etrigan warns him that there's an evil coming. You gotta embrace your true self, and also Gotham's gonna burn. And so he's trying to save Gotham. So, I gotta tell you, DC, stop killing any character named Dick Grayson in every cartoon or TV show or movie. You can kill someone else. Come on. But either way, it's cool Batman with all the technology that you can have post-World War I, before World War II is interesting. Alfred seems to get the best lines. They made Green Arrow, Oliver, a drunk. Either way, I thought it was an interesting, movie to do with demons and creatures and this mythological stuff with magic and spells and all this other stuff. So it's interesting take on Batman, which has always been about science, not fiction, because he's I gotta read some materials that are nothing to do with fiction and stuff. So it was interesting, and as always, Batman comes out on top in terms of him actually saving the day. 80-something minute movie. So it was interesting. Then I watched a Portuguese movie called Medusa. And I gotta keep telling people, I don't care what country the movie is made in. It could be made in Antarctica. It could be made in Australia. It could be made in England. It could be made in India or this movie, Portugal. No movie has to be more than 2 hours when it's a bad movie. The whole point of this movie is a bunch of friends, but this specific girl, wear these masks, as you can see, and they terrorize girls who they think are, in their mind, gay, sluts, just bad Christians, and they just beat them up and make them do all these things and record it and all this other stuff. But in reality, they're all hypocrites because some of them are gay or they sleep around with men and they do all these other things that are not Christian. And they sing on a Christian show, and there's this pastor and all this stuff. She gets a cut on her face and she can no longer work at a health clinic, at the plastic surgery clinic, because she scares them. And the whole movie's them just hating on other people, but then they all have their own issues and stuff. And I was like, this is a waste of time for 2 hours and 9 minutes. Not a good movie. Then I watched the movie Wolf, which, I thought it was interesting, where you have this place where kids of all ages think that they're animals and their parents send them there. And it's there's a clinic with psychiatrists, medical experts, and they're all trying to help them in realizing they're human and they're not animals, but they encourage them to be who they are in there. And, there's George McKay guy. His parents sent him there, and I just thought the ending was bad, that nothing that felt was really resolved. He falls in love with Lily Rose Depp's character in there, teenage romance. So I just thought it was interesting, not amazing, not bad, but again, being in the hour 30-ish minute range, not too long. It was just an interesting idea. I haven't thought of this. I never thought a movie like this before. I thought, oh, yeah, it was interesting. It wasn't great, but it wasn't bad. Then I watched Raging Fire with supposedly this Donnie Yen dude is always in these action movies. He's like the Chinese Jason Statham or, John Wick, or Tom Cruise, sort of thing with Keanu Reeves. So basically, I say it was a good movie. Again, well, movie has to be 2 hours plus. There's a lot of drama with his current wife and then department issues within the department with other cops. But it's like a typical movie with guns blazing, martial arts, a lot of explosions, corrupt cops, bad guys, you gotta stop them, he's gotta save the day. And it's cool that they gave me the option of a dubbed version in English, because it's an action movie. It's not like a drama where obviously the mouths are not gonna line up with the audio, but it's a cop movie. It's like trying to save the day, so I don't care about that aspect. I just want to know what's going on. One of the voice actors in this movie was familiar because it was like the guy who voices Vegeta in the Dragon Ball franchise. So it was cool. I said it's a watchable movie, and this is one of the few times where the movie is 2 hours plus, you have to make it interesting, and 90% of this movie is interesting. If they cut out 10, 20 minutes of the movie, I would say it's a great movie. Then I'm going to tell you Jordan Peele. Get Out, great horror film. The next movie you made, okay. And Nope was not a horror film. Sorry to people who think it is. It's a movie about aliens. It's more of a psychological thing, more of a suspense, more than it is horror film. So I'm sorry, Jordan Peele, but you got to stop remaking horror films. People have said they don't like your version of The Twilight Zone. Again, stop remaking stuff. Go back to making original ideas. Candyman, Tony Todd, I don't remember watching the original, and if I did, I don't remember anything from it. But this movie was It's a positive that he follows a lot of that this time he follows that the horror film doesn't need to be 2 hours long like a lot of his other films. So it's barely 90 minutes. And I've seen the main actor before. I saw one of the other dudes in this movie. But basically, they make it woke. So the movie starts off with a brother and a sister where she has a boyfriend who's an artist and he has a boyfriend, blah, blah, blah. And she's in the art world and her art friends are you don't date your clients, all this other stuff. So that was and I like that it took place in Chicago. So it mentioned a lot of places in Chicago. So some Chicago landmarks and buildings. So I was okay. But in this one, Tony Todd's in it just for a second and they make a new Candyman. And it's this dude gets super obsessed with the legend of Candyman and the projects and all this other stuff that it consumes him and makes his life bad. And I was okay, cool. It was okay. I didn't think it was great. It was all right. Then I watched the 355. I don't really understand why they call it the 355, but this movie expects you to believe that Jessica Chastain is Tom Cruise with some of these stunts and being a secret agent. And yeah, she's been in some action movies before, but then she was that that telemarketing, not telemarketing, but TV, pastor's wife in a movie before and some other stuff. And this Lupita Nyong'o, she's from the Black Panther franchise and stuff like that. So she's been in movies, but they make her where she's a retired agent. She's more behind the scenes tech person, reluctant to go back into it. So that's believable. But she's been in an action movie. Diane Kruger, I'm not sure who she is, but it was confusing which intelligence was. It was one of these European intelligence where you're not sure what's going on. Penelope Cruz I'm not a field agent, I'm just a psychiatrist, but I'm out there. And this Bing Bang Fan, I'm going to tell you this. You can cast any Asian actor you want, but if I can't understand what she's saying in her English, I would much rather read subtitle, because in this movie, they made all these different countries, people speaking English, when in real life, if this was real life, they're speaking in their own native language. It's only spoken in English because it's a movie. And, with the movie, that's what you're getting at. So I'm okay. And the thing is, Sebastian Stan's in this movie, Edgar Ramirez, and then, the boss of the CIA. I've seen him before. But literally, the men either die really quickly or have little to no role in the movie. So, I was oh, cool, Bucky from Captain America. Nope, he's barely in the movie. Come on, And this whole, they're best friends, and they don't want to ruin their relationship, and they waste time having sex in the movie. And you're yep. This movie is 2 hours and 3 minutes. They could have taken out 5-10 minutes of that drama crap and just let it to be a movie. And they're they're on the run because the CIA thinks it's her fault. All this other stuff. So Penelope Cruz, It's like, oh my God, I don't know how to be an agent, blah, blah, blah. So it's like, okay, whatever. So it was okay. It had a good amount of action, but again, more than 2 hours, wasted scenes. Some of it was just not the most believable action film. And it's not about being a woman. It's about the specific actress and their history of roles they've been in. It was like, yeah, it was okay. Then I watched Death on the Nile, you know. I thought for a second I may have seen it, but that's like the Murder on the Orient Trail, whatever it is, like on that train movie. So I don't know this Tom Batman one, but he was a detective, and he wasn't bad. Annette Bening, I don't know if she's actually British or not, but her accent was horrible. It's good to see Russell Brand in the movie. I haven't seen him in a while because he's gone super like talk show political over the years, and he's not really doing a lot of acting. You know, Gal Gadot is, of course, the gorgeous rich lady in the movie. That makes sense. Armie Hammer is the gorgeous man in the movie. That makes sense. Rose Leslie was okay. Emma Mackey was okay. Letitia Wright, again, another Black Panther actress. She's in the movie, and it's like, again, make this off a novel, make it into a movie. It takes place in the past. It takes place in another country. And you got to pick up all the bread clues of trying to figure out who killed the main character, the rich lady in the movie, and all that other stuff, and who killed other people. So you're sitting through this, and you're like, it's 2 hours plus, and there's just so much like unneeded scenes in the movie that you're just like, let's cut it out, because again, it's supposed to be a mystery, but it seems to drag on a little bit. It's just okay. I don't think Death of the Nile is the best movie I watched. I also don't think it was the worst movie, but again, not every movie has to be 2 hours. But again, Batman, The Doom That Came to Gotham was the best movie because DC knows what they're doing. I will say this. I actually enjoyed watching Raging Fire, even though it was pretty long because it was an action movie with explosions, martial arts, and fighting scenes. And even though Wolf was odd and not the greatest ending, I give credit for somebody coming up with an original idea. Then I would say, depending on you want to believe in the action with these people in the 355 or believe in the mystery of Death of the Nile, they would be tied for the watchable movies. Candyman, I'm telling you, Jordan Peele, you don't have to keep remaking things or make horror films. Go back to comedy. And Medusa, one of the worst movies I've ever watched. Thanks again for listening to another edition of Movie Reviews Observations, number 157. For On the Radar Today blog, I'm Radar. See you guys next time.